Joining me right now is 2020 Democratic presidential candidate and Colorado Senator Michael Bennet. Senator, good to have you back.
It's nice to be here, Neil. Thanks.
How do you feel on this whole witness thing, especially if it could prolong this trial? It also means precious days you are not on the stump, campaigning in Iowa and New Hampshire. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think we have a constitutional duty to fulfill, so I'm not worried about getting taken off the campaign trail. And I think, it's really important for your viewers to know that President Trump has exercised what he calls this executive authority not to have any witnesses and not to allow any records at all to be put in front of the Congress. I mean, that's never happened before since the founding of the country. And I think it's imperative that the Senate have witnesses, that the Senate examine records, and I think it's an obligation of us as the representative of the people to do that on behalf of the American people.
Do you have
have this kind of...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, the reason why I'm asking about this is that Republicans have claimed that a number of Democratic senators, especially those running for president, that would be you, recuse themselves because you have an inherent bias against the president. What do you say?
I think that anybody could accuse anyone else of having an inherent bias. What I would say is if they really want to have a fair trial so the American people can understand what has happened to our country over the last year, those same senators should be for having witnesses and having records. That's the best way we can assure that the American people can get to the bottom of the truth.
There's been a cynical view expressed, Senator, that maybe even Nancy Pelosi wanted it this way, that it would force people like you to be in Washington, Amy Klobuchar, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and pave the way for someone who she feels could win against Donald Trump, Joe Biden. Do you buy that?
I actually don't buy that because I think that I am the candidate who can beat Donald Trump. I heard Donald Trump say the reason that we're doing all this is we're trying to distract from his great economic track record. And since I know that he gets most of his talking points from this network, I want to say while I'm on this network that the country is creating jobs at a slower pace today than when Barack Obama was president. If we were creating jobs at the same pace that we were when Barack Obama was president, we would have 1 million more jobs today than we do. That's the Trump jobs gap. We've got a 23% increase in bankruptcy filings among farmers. Farm income is down 16%. And I heard the president bragging the other day when he was talking about the impeachment trial that he had cushioned the blow by making payments to farmers that he said came from the tariffs. That is ridiculous. The tariffs are $40 billion of taxes he's charged the American people.
Then let me ask you about that. First of all, if he's getting talking points from me, then he's going to the wrong source. But leaving that aside, I'm wondering...
Well, I didn't say from you necessarily.
You just blanketed the entire network there. But Senator, the one thing I have to ask you though is, he does have a little perch to stand on here. Unemployment levels across all key demographic groups, including core Democratic ones, from African Americans to women to Hispanics. They're at all-time lows. Now, we can quibble about the momentum and whether that's what it was under Barack Obama, but that he is arguing from a place of strength, a strong economy, a strong market. Are you worried? Are you worried that, notwithstanding whoever the Democratic nominee is, even if it's you, that that's a tough battle to fight?
Here's what I'm worried about, Neil. Look, first of all, we're not quibbling. Those are the facts. The facts are Donald Trump's creating jobs at a slower rate than his predecessor.
Well, I just gave you the facts on record low unemployment levels, right? Those are facts as well,
and let's go to that. Let's go to that. So we are in the 11th year of an economic recovery. President Trump has been able to stimulate this economy with record deficit spending, which why your network doesn't report on that, I don't know. But we've got more than $1 trillion record the president is using to juice the economy. He spent $28 billion. He borrowed the money from the Chinese to try to keep our farmers afloat because of the trade war that he's created. And by the way, that's more than twice the money that the Obama administration lost on the auto bailout. So my question is, who's the Bolshevik here? And I'm worried that we're coming toward the end of
deficits were growing at a record rate under Barack Obama. We could argue what he inherited and how to deal with, but for any Democrat to point the finger about fiscal austerity and discipline, that's a little hypocritical.
Let me do that. Let me do that because I'm the only one that won an award last year for my fiscal responsibility. When Barack Obama became president, he inherited a deficit of $1.2 trillion. When he left, the deficit was $600 billion or less. And today it's over $1 trillion because of the reckless spending of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has grown government more than Barack Obama did in his first term, including the stimulus package. So facts are facts, Neil, and I'm glad that the unemployment rate is low.
Debt did grow under Barack Obama at a record amount. You're right. It's possible it could grow at a record amount under this president, but debt is debt is debt, and Republican or Democrat, it is piled up, right?
The debt, yes, the debt has, but the deficit, based on the policies that he enacted while he was president, and the Republicans, frankly, wouldn't allow him to enact, went down. We were going in a better direction, is my point, and we're going in a much worse direction today.
Well,
that's all.
And you know, finish that point.
Yeah, in terms of the unemployment rate, as I travel the country, what I hear people telling me is, we're working really hard, but we can't afford some combination of housing, health care, higher education, early childhood education. In other words, we can't afford a middle-class life. We can't save. Our kids are going to live a more diminished life than we live. And in fairness to Donald Trump, he didn't create all those problems, but he's certainly doing nothing to solve them, because I really don't think he cares about your kids or my kids. We need a president who's actually going to invest in this country, so when the economy grows, it grows for everybody, not just the people at the very top, and that people have wages in their jobs that can actually support a middle-class lifestyle.
Real quickly, Senator, real quickly, if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, do you think that would be imperiled?
If Bernie Sanders is the nominee, I worry that Donald Trump would win, and I don't want Donald Trump to win.
Got it. All right, Senator, thank you very, very much. Good
Thanks,
chatting with you.
Neil. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.